Hello, travelers, and welcome to Go See, Do, Explore.
Here, we dive deep into the heart of travel, sharing hidden gems, unforgettable experiences, and the stories that make each destination unique.
Whether you're a seasoned traveler or dreaming of your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And together, we'll set the course for your next great adventure and discover the stories that make each place unforgettable.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Go See, Do, Explore podcast. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I was trying to come up with some sort of a travel-related game we could play just to mix things up. And so we're going to do a little bit of travel would you rather.
That's why he's kicking this off instead of me, like I've done for the last 40-some episodes.
Yes.
I feel like I'm in the wrong podcast.
Oh, wow. Okay. I asked everyone's favorite AI assistant to provide for us 10 questions. I sort of glanced at the first one just to make sure it was on track, and it seemed like it. So I'm going to ask you the question, and then I'll answer the question as well. I reserved the right to say that this is a dumb question and ask to get some more generated because who knows, right?
Hopefully they're appropriate.
But let's see. Here's the first question. Would you rather have unlimited free flights but always fly economy, or stay in luxury hotels but have to pay for all of your flights?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, we haven't done a lot of flying outside of economy. And when it comes to travel, the flight does tend to be the more expensive part of the trip. But I also got used to lay flat seats last summer. And now
one time
in this universe, I have to give that up.
Yeah.
I would probably go with the flights.
Yeah, I would for sure go with the flights too.
In this world, are you able to bid for upgrades?
That's a good question.
You always have to book economy, but you can bid for a better seat. Then I'm definitely in.
I mean, it's nice to not fly economy, but I'd take the unlimited free flights.
Yeah, you go wherever. It is true that like most of the time, unless you're going to Disney, your flight is probably going to be the most expensive part of your trip. Yeah. I mean, maybe, I guess, cruises. But yeah. All right.
Okay.
What's the second one?
Would you rather explore a new country every month but never return to the same place, or only visit 5 of your favorite destinations for the rest of your life?
I think the first one, because while I do enjoy going back and revisiting destinations, I think I might get kind of sick of the same 5.
This is a hard one for me, actually, because I do like the joy of going back to a place. I agree that you could feel limited by having to only go back to 5 places. I mean, there are lots of people that's like what they do. That's their whole travel.
That was how I grew up.
Probably
the same 3 trips.
Yeah, and I'm sure I could probably find happiness in that way, but I think we're probably going to agree on a lot of these. I think I agree that I would rather go to a new country every month. The thing is, like, the math on that doesn't pan out, right? Because if you go to a new country every month and never go back, then in 120 whatever months, you're going to be out of countries.
And then you are done traveling.
And then you're done traveling. So I guess if you look at it that way, then I think the 5 is probably better because, right, well, I guess it's 10 years. You'd have 10 really solid years about, and then you'd be done traveling. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
These questions are hard.
Yeah. Thanks, AI. Okay. Would you rather travel with an unlimited budget but no internet, or have free high-speed internet anywhere but on a tight budget?
These are hard.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to say, yeah, give me like a blank check and never have the internet. But at the same time, I feel like we're pretty good at traveling on a budget and economizing our travel. Why? Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, I know my answer on this one.
Well, I know you like to unplug, but then that also kind of limits how often you're traveling.
Not if you have an unlimited budget.
Oh, okay.
I'm going no internet because, like, if you have an unlimited budget, you can pay for people to do everything for you. Right? You could hire a driver. You could pay for someone to make your reservations. I mean, it would be a very different style of travel, but I would rather do that and give up the internet forever. You know, in that sense. I don't think that's cheating. I think it would be cheating if I said, like, well, you'll have the internet. But, like, no, I'd hire people to do whatever I use the internet for today. I would just hire someone to do that, basically, if the budget was unlimited. I know you like to browse.
I do like to browse.
I don't really care to browse.
You don't browse.
It's all pretty lame. Subscribe to our podcast on the internet. It's all pretty lame.
Everything except this podcast is lame. I think I'm going to agree with you.
Okay.
Why did you ask the AI to make such hard questions?
I didn't.
I guess if it was easy, this wouldn't be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
All right. Would you rather visit a place with breathtaking natural landscapes but no city life, or a vibrant city with no access to nature? That's kind of a weird false dichotomy, but because like what city doesn't have some access to nature?
None.
But anyway, you can only stay in an underground city.
No sun for you. Well, if that was the case, give me the nature.
Yeah.
Because I do like sunshine. That's tough because honestly, it's like two different types of travel, right? And like we were talking to some family friends a few weeks ago and they were like, oh, we don't like to go to cities. We prefer natural trips, national parks, that kind of stuff. And we like that, but we also like cities.
Yeah.
I'm going to go city because that's where the good food is.
I think I'm going to go city too, which this is actually kind of a surprise to me because when I first saw this question, I thought, oh, nature. I'm not going to give up nature. That's like one of my favorite things. But the thing is, if you think about this in the context of travel, where we live today, like I can get my nature fix in around here.
Right.
We don't live in a big city, so I can get that experience. I feel like if I lived in a big city, my answer would be the exact opposite.
Right.
I think that I would want to go only to nature.
Well, and I feel like we've been doing a lot more city travel in the last few years. Like I was just thinking, we're planning a trip to Mexico City, and although Puerto Rico is a mix of both. Then we went to Chicago, and I just feel like our travel lately has been more city focused. And I know there have been some times when we've done, we took a 3-week national park road trip a few years ago. We've done road trips through Michigan and in other rural places. And the thing that I remember when we took our road trip in 2020 that we went through the UP of Michigan and we went into Wisconsin afterwards, I was a little disappointed because when we travel, we do like to eat. And that was something that we missed out on a little bit. I mean, obviously we didn't starve, but it was like kind of boring fast food and camp cooking, which is fine, but that's not what I'm looking for when I travel, I guess.
Okay. Would you rather only take spontaneous last-minute trips or only be able to travel with an itinerary planned months in advance?
Yeah, that's not a question for me. Months in advance, please.
Yeah. I'm going to agree. I think given the choice between the two, because, preparation in travel means that you tend to have a better experience. There are a lot of caveats I could give to this. I really feel like the way that we try to travel is sort of planned spontaneity, meaning that we block options, we give ourselves room for spontaneity, but we don't wing it. And that usually, I think in our opinions, produces the best outcome.
When we saw Pauline Fromer at the travel show last weekend, she had a quote from her father. I don't remember it exactly, but it was basically like, if you don't read about the destination and understand the history before you arrive, you're only really getting half of the experience.
Which you could do without planning an itinerary.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would push back against like a really fixed itinerary, though. Like I just don't like traveling that way.
We have some friends, I don't know if they listen or not, but they're very
Hello.
They're very much like, I'm just gonna, book my plane tickets, and I think they usually have hotels, but it's like, what are we gonna do to get there? I don't know. We'll find out, and that stresses me out.
But like, I could get on board with a trip like that for the right destination, but usually the kind of trips we plan are too complicated to operate that way.
Too many phases.
Yep. All right. Well, we're halfway through. Why don't we take a wine break?
All right, let's take a wine break.
We're here for the wine break. We have a wine from a winery that we've talked about before. This is Handstand White. It is a white wine from Chateau Grand Traverse. I thought we would just start by trying this.
I thought we were going to cheers.
Oh. It's very fruity, the aroma.
A little floral, too.
Yeah, floral. It reminds me a little bit of Pinot Grigio, the aroma. It's like a little bit of like kind of malic acid kind of a thing. I think there's got to be some Pinot Grigio in there. That's my suspicion. Oh, it does say. Yeah, it does have Pinot Gris, or they call it Pinot Gris. So it is Gruner Veltliner, Pinot Gris, Riesling, Pinot Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, and Muscat Autumnal. So that's where the floral is coming from for sure.
They just like took all their white grapes and like mixed them together.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me.
Yeah. And then maybe the floral might be coming from the Riesling a little bit too, but definitely Muscat Autumnal has that really, really floral aroma.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what do you think of this one?
I really like this one.
Mm-hmm. It's a classic. It's been out for a couple of years now. It's non-vintage. So I don't know if this is like the original or if this is a subsequent year or what. But I wanted to grab this one because, one, I had it open. But two,
You're cheating.
We've talked about Northern Michigan wine many times on this podcast, and I'm not going to rehash it all now, but the whole Michigan wine industry owes a huge debt of gratitude to the man that this wine is named after. It's Ed O'Keefe Jr. He was the founder of Chateau Grand Traverse. He was the person crazy enough to plant Vitis vinifera on the Old Mission Peninsula.
Where there used to be cherry trees.
Yeah, surrounded by cherry farms. And it was a tremendous hit. He identified, that Old Mission has a microclimate that supports a little bit of a longer growing season than like mainland Michigan there. And it was just enough, right? Just in that combination with our glacial soils and our cool lake breezes and cool nights and hot days, all the things that grapes really like. I won't tell Ed O'Keefe's whole story here, mostly because I don't necessarily have it memorized, but he's a very interesting person and someone you should look into. He was in Special Forces in the Green Berets. He was a federal agent in New York working on like busting up gangs, basically. He got poisoned when he was doing that, and so he decided to quit.
Probably a good idea.
That was my understanding when he came back to Michigan, but it's called Handstand White because he was also an Olympic gymnast.
And the picture on the bottle is him doing a handstand.
It's him doing a handstand, yeah. So that he died just a couple years ago, and when he did, Chateau Grand Traverse released both Handstand White and Handstand Red in his honor. Really solid wines, but that's one of our favorite wineries on Old Mission. It's essential to the history of Michigan wine. And so, yeah, I thought since we had that bottle open, it would be a good one to talk about.
Always good to talk about the wine that we already have open.
All right, let's get back to our game. I feel like this is another easy one.
Okay.
Would you rather go on a month-long road trip in an RV or travel the world for a year but only stay in hostels?
Oh.
I missed the year thing. That does make it harder.
Okay.
Because without the year, it's like, well, yeah, RV preferable to hostels. Even though everyone says that hostels are actually pretty nice these days. You can get private rooms and stuff. But
yeah, at the travel show, somebody showed a picture of a room, and it was like one room, and then another room looked exactly like it. It's like, can you tell which one's the hostel?
They're the same picture.
It's the same picture.
Actually,
no, it wasn't. But the hostel's going to cost you like half, if even that, maybe a quarter of what the hotel will cost you. I think I'm going to go with the year, and I think you can find good hostels. That's what I'm going to bank on.
Yeah, at least in some parts of the world. I guess that's kind of the trick.
Yeah, I guess in Europe, you can find these like private room hostels. And honestly, that's kind of what we had when we were in Bologna.
Yeah, they called it a hotel, but it was really no difference.
No, it had like a weird living room, and all the water was boiling hot at all times.
Yeah, I don't know if that's part of it.
Because two, I'm just going to add a little more. With an RV, you're limited to destinations that you can drive to.
I mean, kind of the bogus nature of this question is that I could take a month-long trip in an RV and then, like, after I could take another trip, but that's kind of one thing that, like, is the month versus a year. I'm overanalyzing this fake question that the computer asked us. But I think I'm going to agree with you. Even though I really thought I was going to go the other way and say RV, I think just longer is better. I'll put with the caveat that these hostels have private rooms. I think if the hostels don't have private rooms, my answer is different.
It's probably true for me, too.
I'm just too old to do that.
I think when I was young, I was too old for that.
Well, yeah. Okay. Would you rather only be able to travel solo for the rest of your life or always have to travel with a group of at least 4 people?
Oh.
So I guess you and I can't travel together just ourselves anymore.
I think I would have to go with the group, even though I frequently said that I think a big group tour would be really hard because whenever we do group tours, there's always like one or two people that are really annoying. Do you get to pick the people on the four people?
Yeah, I could ask. Ask a follow-up question.
Because if they're two of those people from that, this is going to sound mean. I should probably just stop.
Yeah, maybe don't. So I feel like 4 is not bad, and especially if it's like us and 2 friends. I feel like that's a totally fine way to travel, or us and like some family.
I've never done any solo travel. I don't know if we've talked about that before. I've taken like flights by myself just to like get to where you are.
Right.
But I've never done anything.
And I've only done it for work, which I feel like is not really the full solo travel experience. Like, I mean, I've gone to restaurants by myself and stuff, which is something I don't know if you've done, but
I have not.
yeah, I actually kind of like it, that specifically.
I will just get carry out and eat it by myself with the TV.
But
what does that mean about me?
I feel like I can't say solo because it would basically mean that you and I could never travel together again, which I think would pretty much ruin this podcast. And I don't know if you would ever let that one go.
No.
So I guess I have to stay with a group of 4 people.
Mm-hmm. At least it's not a group of like 12, because that would be real annoying. In a group of 12, you'd know there'd be at least one person that would drive you crazy.
A much harder question. But I would say if one of the options was only to ever travel solo or with you, then that's what I would pick.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Is that obvious? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm awesome.
Okay. All right. Would you rather get free food at every restaurant but never know what you're getting?
Oh, gosh.
Or always be able to order whatever you want but have to pay double?
Oh, that's hard.
None of those are good.
No. I mean, your answer might be different because I'm definitely more of a picky eater.
Yeah.
And I've always thought the idea of like those, really fancy restaurants with like the preset meal would be fun. But at the same time, like if you're giving me octopus, I'm out. Out.
Yeah. I'm going free food. Here's the thing. If I don't
you
like it.
You don't have to eat it.
If I don't like it, I don't have to eat it. It didn't say I have to eat it. And I could just go somewhere else and get more free food. But not even like gaming the system here. Like, if anything, it would just expand my world and my ability to eat different food, right? So, I mean, like, that's good. That's enriching. I could deal with that.
Yeah, because you're not as scared of food as I am.
I mean, and think about what we could do with the cost savings.
It's true.
All that. Yeah.
It's true. Think of all the planes you could take.
That's right.
If you didn't have to pay for food.
And you could get free food on those planes. Because you get free food in this world. People just like, oh, that's the guy that gets free food. Okay. Would you rather have an all expenses paid trip to anywhere in the world, but you can't choose the destination, or pick the destination but pay full price? I think this question is bogus because pick the destination but pay full price is what we normally do.
Right. I mean, there's not many places I wouldn't go. So, like, sure, give me an all expenses paid trip to wherever.
It's like, but then like the next one you're going to pay for. I don't know. I think that question's kind of dumb. So obviously we take the free trip and then just pay for the trip we want next time. That's fine.
You didn't say was the free trip to like North Korea or something, because I don't know that I want to go there.
No, that's true.
But no, I feel like it's going to go to Haiti where you can't legally fly an American plane. There's a few places I don't really want to go because I don't really want to be shot.
Yeah. Would you rather travel to space for a week or explore the deepest parts of the ocean?
C, 100%.
Why?
Because space is scarier. No, I've just always been like a water kid. Like I was in the water swimming before I was a year old.
Yeah.
And space sounds like it'd be nauseating and horrible.
I think the sea could be too, but they both sound good to me. I'm going to go space just for, I don't know, because you get to fly.
You do like to fly.
I do.
But like, think about those space simulators that they spin you around and stuff. I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a few more questions.
Okay.
Would you rather only take red-eye flights for the rest of your life or have a 5-hour layover on every trip?
Oh.
It's terrible, right? They're both terrible. That's why I picked it.
I'm going to say red eye just because you're not wasting 5 hours on every trip.
I agree. And I think you could get really good at sleeping on a plane if you did it a lot. Like it would be more comfortable. All right. Maybe I'll ask you one more here.
Okay.
Would you rather always have to travel to destinations with extreme weather, scorching hot or freezing cold, or only be able to visit places with unpredictable weather, rain, storms?
I think I'm going to go unpredictable.
Yeah.
Because I don't handle extremes very well.
Maybe that one's not that hard.
Because do you agree?
Well, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. Hope it was enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah.
If you were screaming at your car or your phone or whatever that we picked the wrong one, let us know.
Yeah. Just let us know what you would do, or if you've got questions for us.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. New segment.
Yeah.
Listeners send in would you rather questions.
Yep. Okay, great.
For this last segment of this episode, I found an article about travel insurance claims in 2024 that I thought might be a little interesting to talk about. Not nearly as fun as the first segment of this podcast, but according to Squaremouth, which is a travel insurance marketplace, medical emergency claims accounted for 27% of all travel insurance claims in 2024, and this was more than trip cancellation. The average payout of these claims increased 14% over the year before, but interestingly, most of these claims were on one type of trip, and I thought it was kind of interesting and important to talk about it. I was about to ask you what you thought that would be, but I think you know the answer.
I did guess this correctly, though, before I looked at the article.
Yeah, it's cruises. We've talked before about norovirus outbreaks on a cruise ship that could lead people into the infirmary on a cruise ship where you're going to rack up very large bills. The highest medical emergency claim last year through travel insurance was $61,000 for an illness that happened to someone in Aruba, and that didn't even include evacuation.
Yeah, I really want to know what that was.
Like, what are they doing to you
that could cost
in the infirmary?
Because usually if you're really sick, they'll just evacuate you, right? So, like...
So are you getting lots and lots of IVs with expensive medication in them?
Don't know. Maybe someone knows. I mean, I'm sure there's a real reason. It feels like if it was going to approach that amount of money, usually they say evacuations are about $50,000 on average. So it seems like they would just get you out of there unless they couldn't.
Right.
I don't know.
And the average payout in 2024 surged 37% up to $2,600 on average per claim. So that doesn't mean every trip, every travel insurance policy, but out of all the people that submitted claims, it raised about $700 on average paid out. So I guess what the point of this, what the purpose of talking about this is, if you have a cruise planned, make sure you have travel insurance. It doesn't have to be canceled for any reason. If you think there's not many reasons that you would cancel, you know, just changing your mind. Obviously, if you think there's a chance after you put money down that you might change your mind, get to cancel for any reason. But if you're going on a cruise, medical care can be very expensive. More, I think even, you know, people talk about how expensive medical care is in the United States. And I don't know of many people that had to pay $61,000 for like one incident of healthcare in the United States.
If they do, they don't have insurance and they had like surgery or something like that, right? Or like a long hospital stay.
A lot of times in those cases, the hospital will like work with you to negotiate a price you can actually pay. And I don't think that's something a cruise line will do. So I guess I just wanted to bring this up as kind of a downer way to end this episode. Oh. No, I didn't want it to be a downer, but if you're taking a cruise, like medical issues can come up and they can be very costly. We mentioned making sure that your plan covers evacuations, because I know before one of our cruises, there was a headline of somebody that had to be evacuated off of their ship. I want to say they were like young, like less than teens, because they had appendicitis. Like these things can happen. And, you know, even if you're a healthy person, things can happen. You can get norovirus. You could break your leg. And you want to make sure that you're not going to be massively in debt because of it. Yeah.
Travel insurance is also some of the cheapest insurance you can buy. So it's a really good value. It's not something you have to feel like that is going to break the bank. A couple of things that are important to know about buying travel insurance. First of all, never buy it from the provider of your travel for a few reasons. First of all, it's not going to be the best price, like for sure, because they're making a commission. Like it's being underwritten by some, you know, insurance provider. And then your travel provider is making a commission on top of that. Cut out that commission and just buy it from the insurer. Another thing to know is that if that provider goes out of business, you're out of luck, right? Like if you buy travel insurance through the person or the agency providing your travel, and then that agency goes out of business and they've essentially insured it. Like if it's not a third party policy, then
you get nothing.
You get nothing. So that's another reason too. And then another thing, this was just mentioned at the travel show, but it's good to mention. It's, I think, a good reminder for us to never buy travel insurance for a flight, because now, didn't used to be true in the U.S. until like 2 years ago, but now the laws are such that if anything gets canceled, you have to get your money back.
Right.
Flight
on its own is not a reason.
A flight on its own. Now, it is still good to have travel insurance for things like trip interruption, where like if you need to get a hotel room, you're not necessarily reliant on the airline, or maybe like, like us, you booked with Spirit and they don't even do that. And they disclose that they don't do that. I know we've mentioned this before too, but usually if you travel twice in a year, an annual policy is a better deal. And so that's worth mentioning too.
Yeah, and we're not paid for this at
all,
but
sounds like we should be.
I know. Any travel insurers out there that want to sponsor us. Yeah. We typically, before we were getting an annual policy, we would look at insuremytrip.com. It is a marketplace for travel insurance, and you can sort by, you want medical evacuation, you want trip interruption, lost bags. You can select whatever you want, and then they'll show you the policies that cover it. And always, they said at the travel show, like, never buy the most expensive policy that you see because it probably covers the least. Yeah. So just like do your due diligence and make sure that you're getting a policy that's a good value and has what you need.
Yeah. I think another thing I'll mention, so I'm really happy with like my combination of insurance right now, because I have like the least expensive HMO that I can have, which is for my local area only, right? And then I have a secondary insurance that covers basically unlimited telehealth. So wherever I am in the world, if it's not emergency, I can just go to telehealth. And then that plus the combination of travel insurance and the HMO does have emergency out-of-network coverage. So that's something to look at, like in our sort of evolving medical landscape, is some of these telehealth plans, because that could be really nice if you have a cold or something like that. And, travel insurance is not necessarily going to kick in there.
I was going to say norovirus on a cruise ship, but no, you can't get a prescription on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Can you call my prescription into the next port?
I mean, maybe they could for the right thing. I don't know about norovirus, but yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting news article to talk about. So yeah, have a good week, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye. That's all for today's episode of Go, See, Do, Explore. Thank you for joining us and sharing in the wonder of travel.
Keep the spirit of today's adventure alive by checking out our blog at goseedoexplore.com for even more travel inspiration.
Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps fellow travelers find us and join our community.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep traveling by any means necessary.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh, bidding you farewell and happy exploring.